All right, so we're is this working? We're back for episode 3 of the Made by Hand podcast, and this one is going to be a little bit less formatted, and we're kind of just having a chat about things that we wish we could do, things that we're doing, and all different types of good stuff. But yeah, so what we were just talking about was
What was the thing? You were just about to say something. You wish there was somebody that
yeah. So what I would pay a lot of attention to is because there's like fake success and there's real success, right? There's people that like want you to think that they're successful, right? And then that's all they like put forward as the success, and like they almost can only get success by convincing people that they're successful.
are these businesses you're talking about, or these individuals?
Well, it's all business, right? Like, why else
I
would
mean,
anyone be
yeah.
doing it?
Well, I guess
But
this is like you got to share your failures, I guess, as well, is what you mean.
no, but I'm trying to say that I want to follow like a step by step, not a step by step, but like a day by day lifespan of multiple people that have truly been successful, that have built something tangible, that have gone through the workings, that weren't a success overnight because of outside factors that you can't control. I would follow that and I would consume that every single day if it was just like their day on a 9 times
Bro,
speed
bro.
scale.
That's what everyone that's listening to this podcast is listening to right now. You guys are right now listening to the day by day, step by step. This is how you make it. It's happening.
That's all.
Right
That's
here.
all to say that this was a big promotion and entry to those podcasts. No, but
I
but
know,
honestly,
yeah. Like you want to see like
yeah.
a candidly someone proving out their success somehow, right?
At 9 times speed, and then if that's too slow, 20 times speed. But like I want like the nitty gritty. Like I want we didn't have money for inventory this week. We had to let someone go, or a huge partner left the company, or like anything's like that, right? Where it's the real stuff that happens, and like you can actually take real learnings from it, right?
Well, honestly, I mean, may as well just plug other podcasts that I like listening to because it's the same vein. But the one specifically, honestly, what you just talked about, having to like let people go. Shoot, am I gonna have to pick up my phone that is actively being my camera right now as well? You know, I'll come to it. I'll remember in a minute. But anyway, the podcast. There's 2 guys, and one of them's in Portland, and one of them's in Australia. And they're great guys, great podcast. And actually, they're in not entirely dissimilar lines of work than us. I mean, they work with wood in some manner or respect, or work with machines that work with wood. But anyway, the Aussie guy had to go through a total downsizing of his company. Like, you know, he got to a point where he had to let go a significant number of staff and just reduce his overall operation, I guess, in that capacity. And it was like, it's hard to hear, you know, like I've let people go before in when I used to manage people who work in the restaurants and things like that. But to be put in that situation, just like a lot of people were honestly at COVID, although you had kind of a kind of moral, ethical get out of jail free card where you was like, it was out of your hands. You know, the business was not successful because you didn't make it so, you know. Anyway, and he had to let a bunch of people go. And it's just like, oh, it's got to be the hardest thing in the world, man, to downsize a business.
So I have 2 theories on this. It's yes, 100% of the time it sucks and it's horrible and it's the worst month or 2. Similar to you, I had to let people go at a production company, whether it was a money issue on our end or whether it was the skill set that we hired for, we weren't really marketing anymore, whatever the reason was. It sucks. There's no way around it. But there's things that happen, especially if you're a smaller team and you become reliant on people to do things. So it's if you're trying to grow the business and you're kind of all in a capacity that is scaling the business together, and you have weekly meetings, right? And you meet and you discuss, oh, did you get what you were supposed to get done? No, well, I got part of it done and maybe I'll get the next done in the next couple days or whatever. Or, hey, I can't make the meeting. This is a virtual working world as well. But, oh, I can't make the meeting this week, but I'll come next week. Those kind of things are like detrimental to momentum and growth and like even just staying in one headspace on a task. So I've found that although yes, it sucks to have partners leave or part ways, whatever ways that they do it, there's kind of a fire that I get personally from those things where it's like, oh, they had a big section of stuff to do and maybe their head wasn't in it. Obviously they were thinking of leaving or whatever it was. And I was waiting on them constantly to do that part so I could do my part, or I could do an additional part once they finished. But now that they're gone, okay, you feel some sort of like whiff of control over everything. And you're like, oh, it's up to me now. I can put in a 14-hour day and I can have 4 weeks of work done that would have taken 4 weeks to get done with a partner. Right. And it's like just having that whiff of control is almost what like fuels the ability to get over like big detrimental things to the company like that. Like I really internalized those moments and have started treating them as like fuel on the fire rather than what am I going to do without this person.
But yeah, I mean, it sounds like, this is someone who's basically cancerous in the business, someone that wasn't pulling their weight, wasn't getting their job done.
Not always, and that's I think it's a part of delegating that I'm not like I'm not the best at. Like it's conveying a mission for your company, right? But maybe not conveying it properly enough where they feel ownership of the things that they're doing, right? Where they want to check off boxes because it's part of this grander vision that I have, right? So it's like, okay, they'll maybe check off the boxes, or maybe it's like a lax situation where they think that, oh, they can put their best effort forward, but like if things don't get done, it will just be pushed to the next week and it's fine, right? Where there's other things that are going on. So I think it's the buck stops with you, right? And I have to take ownership of those things. And honestly, it's not necessarily that they're cancerous, but it's a situation where I didn't convey the vision enough where they felt ownership and they felt how I feel about getting things done and how
Maybe.
important things are.
Maybe. Yeah, sure. Like there's a
Yeah.
lot that goes into that. I mean, if you're talking about like company culture or just having clear lines of communication, challenges motivating staff, which is basically 100 or 99% of what management is motivating your staff to do something. It's tough being the heads of whatever business you are in. If you're at the top or you're the owner as well, nobody's ever going to be invested as much as you are. And so no matter what, it's always going to on you to try to motivate people. Now you could have great staff that are with you and motivated to do a good job, but nothing is comparable to being in that seat. You work for the business, even if you work really close with people. And then there is being the guy, like you said, the buck stops with you. And it's a completely different driver. It is you eat, sleep, and breathe it. And you can never, in my experience, I could never expect anyone to ever go the distance in a business that they are not driving themselves as far as you will go, certainly. And that's why, when you get good staff members that really pull their weight and are really motivated to do good work, you really hang on to them. And again, it's one of those things that where the onus is on you too, to motivate your staff and to have clear lines of communication and blah, 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 blah. But yeah, no one's ever gonna do what you'll do for the business, in terms of what you're willing to sacrifice and the amount you're willing to put into it.
And I think that there's something to that too, is of having separate goals, right? Where it's like their goal is not just part of my goal, and that could be their task is not just part of my task, right? Like what they're completing is the end of that task, right? And I can see it at the end and I can move forward with it, but it's not like a part of what I need to do, right? And I think that I've learned that over the years is that I need to separate, and still learning, but I need to separate the tasks so I can move as quickly as I want to. Because I think, like you said, one of the thing of a managers and an owner is to motivate and to delegate and all those kind of things. But another one is to defy normal times to get things done, right? Where it's if someone as an employee thinks it's going to take a month, like, can I figure out a way to do it in a week, right? Like, can I, even if you don't accomplish it, there's still kind of a fire and a drive that comes from that kind of thinking. And I won't push anyone past their means, but I'll definitely push myself, right? Because of how important everything is, and how much is riding on everything that's happening, right? So I constantly am rethinking timelines and thinking of ways that things can be done quicker, right? And it's not necessarily, oh, this takes a month, I'm going to do it in a week. It's more, I'm going to operate as if I'm finishing everything in a week, and then I'll take 1 week after to refine and 1 week after to kind of get it to exactly what it needs. But it's just that first start that it's just like defying normal standards for time.
Yeah. I guess, I wonder, like, if you're thinking in regards to like how long it'll take to, like, say in our business, like build a project or design a project or finish one of the things that aren't our wheelhouses, like make that website, or grow this channel or create that content, well, content for you is much more in your wheelhouse, I think, given your background. But I mean, like I know for sure how long, for sure. give or take. You know what I mean? Have you ever quoted
Yeah.
someone will take this long, took a little longer, or what I almost always do is say it'll take this long, and I always am done before it because that's always good news, but I'd rather not have the bad news. But anyway, yeah, I mean, if it's something that can be done in a certain amount of time, I feel confident with it. But yeah,
Yeah, I
it's
think
hard
it's
to ask someone to do something in a certain amount of time that you're not sure how long it should take.
I think it's outside of the, because obviously furniture building itself has kind of like, it takes this long to mill wood, it takes this long for the wood to settle, it takes this long, like there's very like things you can't really change if you're building stuff properly.
Mhm.
So I when my mentality is on speed and defying time, I don't think it doesn't attribute to actual building. I think it's more on the like cutting out like indecision in like, or are we going to go with this template? We're going to go with this template, right? Like let's take the week, let's all look at it and let's figure it out. And then no, let's just have an hour chat and then let's move forward, right? Or let's, if we want to work on this website, like we don't need to pass back and forth things. Let's just get in a room for 7 hours and just knock it out. Right. It's like those things external, obviously, to things that take exact amounts of time based on the elements that you're working with.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I think honestly it comes down to indecision is the factor that can speed things up.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I definitely struggle with that. You know, it's definitely, the indecision can definitely eat time and it can kill motivation or momentum, I
Yeah.
should say. Well, both. But yeah, momentum's important. To have something constantly moving forward. And certainly when we write our own schedules, we're usually just fighting against the pile of work that we have to get done to get that other thing done. And sometimes it's hard to prioritize. I mean, before we launch into this part of the conversation, I was just talking about off mic how, what was it, productive procrastination and how much, and I'll give myself time to do that when I feel like I need it, where and what we were talking about when I got to organize my drill bit drawer and just how good it feels now when I open that drawer and it's just clean and tidy. And I threw out that half dozen burnt out Forstner bits that I never really need or never was using anymore, but didn't have the heart to part with the tooling for one reason or another.
Yeah, it's that like reshifting of like, I don't know, your space. And we're like, I'm not very good at that either, is when we're deep in a project, it's just stuff's everywhere. And it's just like you're more focused on the next task rather than like setting up your space for like cleanliness or like not losing tools, like those kind of things. So yeah, it's probably like a time management thing that I need to work on with that as well. But once you finish that job and you get your space clean and organized, and even if you're not going immediately into another job, it just feels like it's almost like uncluttering your mind in a way.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, 100%. I mean, especially coming from the industry I worked in restaurants before this, and the kinds of restaurants I worked in. I worked in like really high end fine dining restaurants, and there's a huge, I mean, so you can find this in a lot of places, but especially there's a huge emphasis on cleanliness and organization, to the nth degree. And everything was polished and clean at all times. And you did big clean downs of the entire kitchen twice a day, scrubbing every corner, blah, blah, blah. But for me, I found as well in that when I have a cluttered space, I just am less happy and do not work as well. And so I try to tidy as much as I can go. I try to keep all my drawers very organized. I know where to find stuff by and large, even given how much just random crap is really in this shop that I'm in right now. There's just a ton of stuff packed into this shop, tools notwithstanding. But yeah, now I find, besides like tidying up during the day, when I'm moving on from like, say I'm cutting joinery. Okay, I'm done with joinery. I'm going to put away the joinery tools, whatever, hang everything up and then start again. I'll even put away things like, my speed square and, some stuff because they're just hanging on the wall anyway. I'll just clear off all of the surfaces and then go into the next part of the project kind of because it just keeps me content and organized as I go. And then honestly at the end of the day though, I'll leave with it messy. And then when I come in the next morning, I clean everything and then start there. Like I now prefer where I used to just clean up at the end of the day. Now I prefer just work until I'm dead, go home, and then in the morning start fresh, clean everything, organize it. Okay, now and then go. I really like that kind of morning routine of cleaning and tidying.
Do you have any morning routines outside of, because it's we have the benefit of like no one's looking at the clock for when we show up, right? So it's like you really can like add things into your morning that are going to make the rest of the day easier. Like I'm on a health kick now. I don't look healthy, but I'm on one currently. I will
You
be
look
as
great. You look
as
great.
the
Don't put yourself down. You look
as
great.
this podcast goes on. I'll be shrinking. But no, so I've been adding in a lot of like morning things like the shake and like just doing like a foam roller and stuff like that, and kind of getting ready to get into the shop, because obviously the shop is hell to our muscles and everything. But yeah, is there anything that you do that is a good tip I can steal?
No, like I honestly, I'll no. My morning routine's pretty easy. Like I don't have kids. You know, for anyone who has kids, their mornings are busy AF. You know, and they're just trying to get their lives together. But no, like I'll wake up. I don't get up super early, depending on what I have to do. You know, if it's install day, like we've talked about this before, I'm up early. I'm up early. Everything's organized in the shop, then I'm going there early. But otherwise, no. Like I can walk to work from where I live. It's a 5-minute walk. It takes me longer to drive to work than it does walk to work. I'm very fortunate right now because my shop's downtown. I pay a ton of money per square footage for that privilege. But and I should say I don't have a lot of square footage, so I'm not paying a mountain of money, but it's a lot for what you get. Anyway, no, I'll have 2 cups of coffee. I vacillate between having breakfast and not having breakfast, you know, in the mornings. And then I'll usually watch YouTube, which is my number one source for consuming content by far. And I finish those 2 cups of coffee and I come to work. That's it.
Audiobooks have been like a saving grace for sanding. Oh my god, when you have to, when you finish the project and then you're committing to spending the same amount of time sanding. So I've been just chugging through audiobooks. And honestly, like sometimes it's just I'll finish one and they get me with the, oh, you would also like this, and then it's just I get free credits through Amazon Prime, so it's just click okay,
Yeah.
and then I'm on to the next one. So I'm listening to things that aren't even recommended, like they're recommended through Audible, but like not, I don't have any credible things, so I don't even know if the stuff they're telling me is good. But it's just so much. I don't know how much I'm retaining of it, but it's like 6-7 hours a day of audiobooks every day.
Oh, so that's your main, like, that's what you're listening to. Like, it's audiobook.
When I'm in
during
the shop, 100%, because I honestly just even like I'm got glue on my hands. I got just even going into my pocket to get my phone out. Like it's just a hassle. So I just like to put it on, have it be like kind of mindless, and then yeah, not have to deal with my phone at all.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. There's nothing more annoying than like applying finish or I'm spraying or whatever, and then you got to pull the phone out and I got to take the gloves off and like got to answer the phone. And you know, again, small shop, I often have to walk outside. I got the CNC running, or I've got, you know, the dust extractor going, so
Yeah,
I have to walk outdoors in order to, like, you know, interact with whoever wants to talk to me on the phone. But yeah,
these are the real tips.
yeah,
Audiobooks. If you get Amazon Prime, you get, this is not an ad because sponsors would not pay us to promote their stuff yet.
yeah. And I mean, you know, I'm more of a podcast and music person. But I mean, you know, a run of those podcasts pretty quick during the week. You know, you can't fill a whole week with podcasts. So yeah, audiobooks. Yeah, I mean that is a good tip. And I have listened to a couple. Not enough, but maybe I should look at that too. Try and figure out what would be my kind of niche. The thing is, I have so much trouble getting interested in anything that's not at least tangentially related to work.
So that's
That
it.
yeah. Go
No,
ahead.
go ahead.
Well, what kind of books? Like, are you listening to any books that are relevant to work?
Yeah, every single one.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, they're all business books. I'm personally, we have like a portable sauna on our patio or whatever, like those tent ones. So and you can't bring any technology in there. So I'm personally, this is my personal time. I am reading a book about the Pacific Railway and like the whatever, which is not related at all to work. That's like my calm down. But every single every single book you can see there, like Build a Business You Love by Dave Ramsey is my current book on the file. But it's just a book that talks about like the 5 developments of like scale, right? Like where it's like where you are, where we are, we're probably in between like 1 and 2, and then like scaling to more employees, to managers, to CEOs, to all that, and it kind of just breaks down each section in between. So yeah, that's what I literally I'm 4 minutes in. So I haven't learned anything yet on it, but I'm hoping that it's going to be good.
Like
And then
what did I read? It was did I read it or did I audiobook it? Because I know those things are interchangeable. I think I actually read this. Dude, am I not gonna remember? Of course I'm not. Of course I'm not. Why would I remember it? But anyway, what I should say is that I have read a few business related books, and I I don't know how often, like, so I guess I should just ask you, how often do you glean information from them that are actionable? Or is it just about kind of putting life into context or making, or commiserating or, like, so what do you think you get from them?
I think the most like thing that I clue into the most that I get from them is making feelings I have like relevant, right? Like if I'm like as a business very lonely, right? And if I'm feeling something about a business and then something similar is said in the podcast and there's like this was the situation that we went through and this is the reason, whatever, like I'm also be like I feel like I'm like being like added to the group or something. Like it's just like this isn't a unique thing. It's not as bad as I think it is. And this is something that happens regularly enough that people are talking about it on a podcast. So I get that a lot. It's like almost like qualifications for the thoughts that I have while I build a business, which is the biggest thing. I don't necessarily with audiobooks specifically. I don't necessarily. I think I get like, oh, I need to write this down and do this tonight. Things as much like maybe once or twice, but it's more, yeah, it's more qualifications for my thoughts and then like just a general feeling around entrepreneurship that it's possible, that tons of people are doing it, and that tons of people think the way that I do. So it's those kind of things that are calming, informational, yes, and honestly like it comes up subconsciously too, like in conversations, like I just from reading more books and doing the audiobooks and all that, like I feel like I can connect words a lot easier, I can connect thoughts a lot easier, I can kind of start running off on a tangent and figure out the connection as it's going. And I think that comes from books, because I before being very deep into that kind of stuff, I wasn't able to do it as much.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I mean, I think,
But that's the
yeah.
number one. The
What do you got?
subtle
I can't see.
the subtle art of not giving a fuck
Oh, I've heard of that one for sure.
by Mark Manson. That's a good
Oh,
read.
you should send me one that'll get me on the next, get into your algorithm, or one gets suggested to the next one.
Oh well. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I'd be interested to start listening to that stuff, because I think too, like you recently recommended, I'd listen to that podcast, My First Million, right?
Yeah.
And I used to, like, my first impression of what I thought it would be, because of the title, was going to be some kind of like Gary Vanderchuck kind of like thing, like I don't know if they call it grind culture. I don't know. I can't even remember what Gary Vanderchuck's thing was, to be
Right.
honest.
I don't know if it's Scary's, but yeah, grind culture for sure.
Sure.
Yeah.
Anyway, that kind of thing, which is fine. Like, everyone works hard. I mean, whatever. Like, I don't feel this way or that or the other. I just like when people are like when you're talking before, is like, people who present as successful, but have fairly like empty words to try, like they don't have
Are
anything of
leave
substance.
are leaving out the part that was the only thing unique, and it's like I had a cousin that ran some sort of connection. Like I find that there's like a lot of things where they talk about do this, do this, do this, but leave out that, oh, you can only do this if you have this, right? And if they don't tell you that.
But yeah, I thought yeah, it's a great podcast. Surprised to no one who's heard it before, or otherwise there are many millions of subscribers or whatever they have going there. But it kind of reminds me of situations that I don't get a lot, because I don't have a team that I'm working with. You get motivated by talking about your business with people. You get excited about it, and it just helps you, lift up your spirits and be motivated to do what you got to do and keep going. It feels good, generally speaking. And there are a few things in there where they were talking about different entrepreneurs that are obviously very successful, but that they all have a lot of different personality traits and different ways with which they went about their business and found success. And I think that's I guess it wasn't illuminating, but it's nice and it's refreshing to hear again, to remember that the way you're doing it isn't the way that somebody else is doing it or somebody else did it. And there's not one way to get it done. And that your outlook isn't wrong, although obviously it pays to take in other points of view and to, build and grow as you go. But anyway, yeah, it's helped. It makes you feel good about what you're doing, and to hear other trials and tribulations and how people move through it.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite. And I was telling you earlier that it's honestly a podcast that I've been listening to since I started my entrepreneur career. 10 or 12 years ago, I'm starting as a photographer, moving into a production company, and then now into the woodworking business. It's been something that I don't think they've been around for 10 years, but it's been something that has given, yeah, just that exactly what you're saying, the drive and the qualifications again. And yeah, just something that's very beneficial, I find, for that energy and that momentum and yeah, just to keep going.
If we like continue on this kind of like topic of getting motivated or just learning from content, like I know I think we've had some parallels in the way that, I'm self-taught in my business, and self-taught, I don't know if it means the same thing now that it used to mean, but I mean, to me, self-taught now just means, there's no formal training. I didn't work for somebody else and was able to glean the way they work and learn from somebody else. So I found the way most people are now going and self-taught, I should say, is through content, YouTube and the internet at large, And so for me, YouTube was instrumental in me getting into the business, learning a lot of the basics of how things are done, and then building upon that through my own experiences and, further self-education through whatever forms I could find it. What, like, are there still content creators or people in a YouTube space or any space that you still continue to revisit to learn things, or is it just to maybe for entertainment at this point, or you don't anymore?
Yeah, so I'll throw it back to the beginning because I think they deserve a shout out. I kind of outgrew the content, but this is more business related and photography related. Was a podcast called, I think they're still doing it, called Raw Talk by Jared Polin, and it was just them sitting around a table talking about camera stuff, and it was for like as a beginning person who just like was obsessed with camera stuff, wanted to learn everything. Just watching their weekly podcast was just like, honestly, it was like the best TV show just came out every week, and like that I couldn't get enough of it. Obviously outgrew it because it was targeted at very like beginner kind of entry level, but moving on for that, I've kind of taken a lot of different paths through content. It's like my favorite show growing up was How It's Made. So like my general direction has always been to informative things being built, like very interesting payoff videos. And the what I'm on now, and because I do want to open some sort of Airbnb business in the future with like a custom build and all that kind of things. But what I'm on now is watching, my favorite one is Escape to Rural France, which is basically a guy that bought a chateau in France that burnt down. And it was like, you would look at this and it looked like an ancient ruin, right? It had no, like, it was completely caved in the middle, no roofs, no floors, just rocks, like broken everywhere, trees growing through the middle of it. And it's been this journey where he posts every single day building this chateau. And he's pretty consistent every single day other than Saturday and Sunday. I think he's posting Sundays now though. And it's been a step by step of him building this chateau from absolutely nothing to now they have roofs and they have floors, and they like, it's still in very, even if you went to look at it right now, you'd be like, oh, like that'd be a big project, but it's just something I can watch every single day. And it's, yeah, just seeing the progression of that and like those types of content. Like I'm always watching the a year in 24 minutes, right? Where they do the restoration from start to finish. But yeah. And then obviously if there's a specific thing I need to learn for woodworking, or like how to build a jig to do something, or like any of those kind of things, like it's very easy to kind of just search those on YouTube. Like honestly, it seems that everyone has done every little thing at some point, or something that you can get close enough that you can take it and make it your own, like not make the design your own, but like make the jig or whatever they did work for what you need to do.
There's a starting point. You can usually find at least somewhere to start from, right?
It's so simple. Like, oh, you use a drill with the bolt, and you're like, that's the thing where you're like, that's the piece I was missing for my jig that's not related at all. But like, it's very much engineering. Like my dad was an engineer. So growing up was all like our school projects and everything was always from an engineering, what's it called, background. And I think that's taken over into woodworking because it's such problem solving, right? And like straight up engineering to figure out, not necessarily like no one would ever know, but the things that we use to build the things that we put out are way more interesting than the things we put out.
Right. Yeah.
Like
No, I mean,
yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I mean, that's true. It's like jigs and fixtures can be
Yeah.
so much fun to build.
Yeah.
To get, for people that, I mean, anyone listening to this probably knows about woodworking anyway, or machining or whatever, but, a lot of the time you have to build a thing to make the one cut, woodworking is a lot of setting up to make that cut correct. And you need to take that tool, either the tool's in your hand or you're moving the workpiece over that tool, but you need something to make sure that that blade or that cutter hits exactly the spot you want it, at the depth you want it, how you want it, and all that. And,
Safely.
yeah, and safely. Yeah. If you can
Yeah.
manage. But yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
We've
So,
all been there though. You're
mhm.
not-
You know what's nice too about jig building too is that, you know, when you're making all this really nice furniture and everything's a Fabergé egg, and obviously you're making very purposeful cuts with everything so that everything's perfect as you work along, you know, cutting away until you get this thing that you want, is that jigs is that opportunity when you just get to take the brad nailer and like some plywood and some screws and just put something together that works, you know, like a la minute, like quickly. You
yeah,
know, you can literally just smash it together, you
yeah.
know, and maybe it's a jig you're gonna keep, or maybe it's not. And a lot of the ones, honestly, now I just throw out because I don't have the wall space for it, you know, or I'll recycle some of the major materials from it. But otherwise, like, you know, it's just nice to have that pause to just throw something together that actually comes together quickly.
I want to do an event of some sort at some point where, because we never throw out any of our jigs, we just store them, and they're getting more and more complicated as we go, and like to where you wouldn't even like you'd look at it and you wouldn't even understand what it did, but like as soon as you lock it into the tool that you're using, like it does what you need it to do. I want to do like an event or like a gallery opening where it's like the jigs are the art. It's just all the jigs, and maybe it's like a furniture showroom in the back or something, but it's like the jigs is what everyone comes to see, and it might be like a shock, but like I think when you go through, you have little plaques that like show what the jig does or something, right? And
Yeah.
they're like, I think
Or like
it's
a finished work piece next to it. It's like that
yeah,
just made that's just for this, you know, like that
exactly,
one
yeah.
thing. Yeah.
See that one little curve? You like build something like this big to do that one little thing. I think it would be fascinating, but honestly, that's like I need to take that out of my head and see if other people like it. But I like, to me, that's just like, oh, that would be something super interesting.
I can certainly see it like relevant at maybe like you work at the or not work at, sorry, but you have connections with that art school, right? Emily Carr or whatever design school.
Hmm.
Like I imagine, you know, something like especially for that kind of audience, you know, seeing
Yeah,
that kind of thing, you know, where young minds trying to expanding into what the possibilities are and see how things work so they can get their projects made.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I like this format. This is a good format.
Well, I like it. I mean, this is the kind of what I'm hoping we kind of move towards. I mean, it's nice to have some like subjects that we bring up and explore. It's nice when it's organic and easy, where we can just kind of talk about stuff that's on our mind.
Yeah. What else? What else? What are the? I'm trying to think of what are the things we did last week. Building large furniture by yourself sucks.
Yeah, it really does.
Yeah. It's like, well, it was the first time last week where we actually got to the point where I couldn't continue working on something because I couldn't physically move it anymore. And it was like the first part in my entire career where it was too heavy to even like figure out a pyramid style lever to move it. Like it was
Yeah,
you couldn't
yeah.
do it. I maxed out. So that was a fun experience. But yeah, it's big stuff. You need help.
Yeah, big stuff is challenging. I remember when I first moved into the shop and it was just me and my jointer got delivered and I didn't have I didn't have anything. I didn't have a pallet jack, don't still, didn't have like an engine hoist, don't still. And I'm glad I didn't buy them because I wouldn't have used them since, but I had to get the jointer off the pallet. So they brought it in. Everything else was in somewhere or another, or I found someone to help me. But for whatever reason, honestly, it's probably just stubbornness. And I was like, you know what? I want to fire this thing up. I'm going to get it off this pallet. And I just remember finding these like aluminum tubes so that I could shimmy it off the edge of the pallet and then onto aluminum tubes and then successfully like, you know, what's that called? Like pass the baton in front of the
Yeah,
jointer.
yeah.
Like finally like rolled it off in like a semi-controlled but super stupid way. Like if I was somebody else watching me do it, was like, what the are you doing? Like, why are you doing this? Like you could possibly, but I was just so excited to get the thing set up that I was like, no, today's happening. I'm not waiting another few days to find a buddy who can come over here so that we can both destroy our backs on this. Like I'm just going to come up with a solution right now. I
Yeah.
think I might even had like a strap, you know, hooked up to like my workbench or something to try to like a come along, like to try and like pull it over. Anyway, it was ridiculous. But yeah, you can't. I mean, I shouldn't have done it there either. You can't do it. You can't do it with furniture.
Those situations where you just need to get it done. I can go back to some stories of our beginning to a very short 2.5 to 2 years ago, and I think this is a super interesting story. But we were selling on Etsy, which try it. Like you can figure it. You can, I don't know, figure we
I think
did
a lot
sell.
of people would be interested in your experience on Etsy.
Okay, so Etsy
Selling
is,
furniture, proper furniture. We're not
yeah,
talking about,
small
cutting
things.
boards and things like that. Small things,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So we when we started, we didn't know what we didn't know, and we knew that Etsy was a marketplace. We didn't have a brand. We didn't have a local presence at all. No one knew that we existed. So we thought, okay, well, there's no hurt in just putting our products up on Etsy. And at the time, we were building very simple waterfall benches. They were very simple, but they were very heavy and very awkward. And we hadn't even heard of flat pack at this point. And so they were built complete. And they show up your door, you open them, and they go in your house, and they're done. No screws, no anything. But this brought into the fact that, people did buy them. One, because we were severely underpriced, and two, because I guess they were generic enough that they cast a wide net of people that liked them. And we sold a bunch. And the first couple, it was like, this is our learnings. This is figuring it out. It's good. But orders kept rolling in. And they got to the point where we had accepted a bunch of orders with no plan and no real manufacturing capabilities, or like product line capabilities for manufacturing. So we didn't know it yet, but we had hit a point where we were going to be losing money on every single piece that we sold. Not aware of this yet. Just in the, people like our stuff, and we'll figure out shipping, and we'll figure out all that, because that's how we kind of move fast and break stuff. But got to the point where we started actually adding numbers together and realized that with shipping and the ability for shipping to not cost the same, and hidden costs, especially with shipping very large 40-pound, 50-pound boxes, we very quickly realized that we were going to be losing money on every single one. But we had sold 30. So we still had to make
30?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So we still had to make those, and among other things, which I have interesting stories as well. But
But it didn't, you weren't like, I'm just going to refund, or did you, by the time you found out things were purchased, you couldn't just refund and be like, you know what, sorry.
No, we probably could have. We probably should have. But no, we didn't. We're just like, we're going to do it. This is great. We're selling. We've made the business. So this business is easy. What are all these people talking about? And then we started, actually, when I came up for air, I'd add some numbers together and figured out, okay, I am paying for these people to have this bench, and over and over and over again. And we can ship across North America. We can ship to New York. We can ship to LA, where a lot of the orders came from. No problem. And we were literally going and buying, what's it called? 1.5 inch thick house insulation, that from Home Depot, because it was the cheapest. It was like $20 for an 4x8. And we were building the boxes out of that as our way of, let's try to get these.
Like the white styrene?
White, with the green on top, with the green on top and silver on the back.
Yes. Okay.
So we were cutting those and putting these little white things everywhere in our shop, and we were making the boxes for all the benches. And then it got to the point where, this is the funny point, where we had sold an entire kitchen to someone I think this is when we started talking about woodworking too.
When we first met?
When we first met, yeah. We had sold an entire kitchen to someone in Detroit, and we are in Vancouver, BC, and we didn't know how to ship a bench 2 hours away from Vancouver, BC. But now we had accepted an order where we had to ship an entire kitchen to Detroit, which is, if you're not fully aware of Canada and the geography of Canada, on the other side.
Not close.
Not close. Much farther than 2 hours, and much bigger than a bench. So we had sold it. And the other thing that was, we thought we had all the conversations we could, but the owner or the designer had requested that it was solid white oak. Everything. Every part of it. The parts that are hidden, the parts that you can't see, the boxes, every part of the kitchen
is nuts.
Which is, at the time we're like, oh, that's a weird request. And I was talking to you, and I was like, we should go back and be like, that's not usually how kitchens are built. There's wood movement. There's reasons why you don't do it that way that are outside of you just wanting to use cheaper materials. It's actually a worse way to do it this way, not just the money part. So basically we went back and forth. They said, no, it has to be solid white oak. We're like, okay, we'll do it. Built it, then realized, and this sounds very quick, but a month and a half later, every day, 12 hours a day, we built it. And basically it was, okay, now they paid $7,000 in shipping, which sounded like an extraordinary amount. It was not nearly enough. So
really,
no, it was like going through like a ton of different services. It was probably going to cost $10,000 to $12,000 to ship the entire kitchen to Detroit. So that was one of those moments where I'm like, oh, this needs to get done. Like, I don't care what I need to do. I just need to get this to them, right? It's already built. We're happy with it. We're surprised that we built something so big in our infancy of starting the company, but we're excited to get it to them. So searching for days and days and figuring out, okay, what are the options? And it turns out that the only option that was available was for me to rent a 12-foot by 6-foot U-Haul trailer and drive it to Detroit.
This is going to save you a ton of money, right?
No, break even, if not still losing more money. And I would love for the people to just know that I actually paid money for them to have what they had.
Right.
But it's not a good brand look. And once again, disclaimer, this is all learnings that we have since figured out. And we have signs on the wall that say do not accept kitchens in Detroit.
You went to school very hard in those several months. You know, like you learned a ton. And I mean, you know, like you're talking about a solid, which is fucking crazy, a solid wood kitchen. I mean, all of the panel glue-ups, all of the milling, all of the stuff that goes into making that. I mean, that is a huge amount of learning, right?
But like, also not solid wood plywood, solid hardwood, solid white. Yeah.
So, I mean, you did not just in fabrication, but in business learn a lot. I mean, I'm not sure how much money you think overall you lost in that time, but I mean, if you think about the amount, like you priced that appropriately, you could at least look at the side that there's no way you would have got as much sales, and you certainly wouldn't have gotten to practice the skills and learn all the things that you learned in a short amount of time like that. So there's a silver lining to all of this stuff for sure.
Hindsight, everything is hindsight. We can talk about it as a learning and as things that we go through. And honestly, like I was talking about the books, those qualifications for my thoughts, like those are the kind of like qualifications I'm talking about, where it's like, oh yeah, some other people had to go through an experience similar, maybe not exactly to what mine is, but like something that didn't seem achievable, and you got it done and you moved on and you were better because of it. Very easy to talk about now, very hard to experience in real time.
Sounds grueling.
But I did the drive all the way through, and I chose the scenic route. So I went through the U.S., and Utah is beauty that time of year.
Yeah.
And got it there, got it delivered. They were happy with everything. And yeah, had a nice flight home after.
You're a glass half full kind of guy.
Have to be.
Yeah.
Have to be.
Yeah, for sure.
No, my glass is full at all times. No, and there, even if there is no glass. That's a mental disorder that I have, but yeah.
I mean, I don't come by it naturally in most of my life outside of business. In fact, it's honestly at complete odds, I think, with my regular personality and outlook on things often. But there's something about being in business for yourself where if you're not looking at that cup half full, you are totally screwed, because you just will not, you can't go through the emotional swings and the challenges and like, you know, putting yourself out there and trying to get this stuff done if you're not optimistic about what's going to come of it. You know, in the end, like you have to find that optimism. Otherwise, there's just no way it's going to happen.
Optimism mixed with a little bit of numbness.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. like what, you know, there's certainly been days where I definitely didn't want to be in the shop. There has been before Christmas when I was really struggling. There was time when I was strapped by indecision about what to do about the business because I didn't know if I was going to make it another full year. That I was like, I don't know, like I could go into the shop and work on the retail offerings, but I mean, they're not selling. So why would I make more? Or what I like think about, you know, I'm going to think about the new angle I'm going to take on you know, content or whatever to try and push the stuff out. And it's like, you know, it's freaking Christmas already. You're not going to make anything that's going to turn the tide of your sales right now, you know, and this kind of stuff. And I think those were some days where I was like, I was defeated for sure. Like there were days there when I was defeated, but by and large, yeah, you got to roll with those punches and you got to keep looking on the up and up and just try and get there for sure.
And we'll let you know when we get there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Any day now, I feel like we're going to like, yeah, we'll be both fully realized humans and just the businesses will look awesome.
Well, the good thing about this podcast is it's going to document many successes that are coming.
Yeah. I look forward to the story of the next road trip that you take, of which I know you've made several.
Okay. So that was one. that I did, but I did 7 to very yeah. So I did L.A. twice, and then I did I think twice to Edmonton, and then the other one to Detroit. But the one to Detroit was actually San Francisco delivery, L.A. delivery, Detroit delivery.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So I
I mean,
kind of
that's what they call
I
white glove
grouped them.
service, though, right?
Yeah, they just me just frazzled from the drive showing up with the. I wouldn't call it white glove, but they got what they want.
I mean, I keep forgetting too. It's not as though you're doing this in like within 24 hours, so you're having to pay for accommodation one way or other. Or are you
Oh yeah,
sleeping in the truck?
I slept in the truck many nights on the drive. I didn't like. I would only sleep for like an hour, so I'd pull over into a hotel parking lot and I would sleep in the truck for an hour, like literally like with the blankets over the window because like people could see me, and then I'd sleep for an hour and then I would keep driving.
Yes, man.
Yeah,
That's
but
hard. Yeah.
honestly, it's like it's life stories, right? Like if I hadn't done anything in that period of time, I wouldn't be remembering anything from that period of time.
Yeah. I mean, but
So,
also like, listening to those stories, I mean, it's making it happen. Like they had to get delivered. You weren't going to be able to ship them. And, you delivered to your customers, and at the end of the day, like, if anyone's going to second guess your dedication to making sure your customers got what they bought, you are losing money on all of these orders and you're taking your time to drive them literally across the country and in one of the largest countries in the world, driving across that country to deliver, these goods, so yeah,
yeah,
I mean, good on
um,
you.
it made for good content that no one watched, but it was it was good.
If only you'd had the camera on yourself the whole time on the drive explaining that and the whole situation. That's great narrative.
It was a great narrative, but it was actually so far. The only shots I got were like drone of me like lost in Utah because I was trying to see what was like over the next mountain to make sure I was going the right way with the drone.
Were you just out of reception?
No, because I took a day to myself and I went hiking in Utah.
Oh, you're on foot.
Hiking. No, I was in the car. But
Okay.
I was driving to a national park, and I guess I took a wrong turn.
Okay.
And yeah, it was. I have a video of it, and it's me with the U-Haul trailer driving down this this non-road in the middle of the Utah desert.
Are you solo? Like,
Yeah.
were you driving this all solo?
So we did one. Me and my partner Devin came with me for. We made like one into like a little mini vacation where we like drove up to LA through like Napa, and kind of stopped off in little towns and hung out. And then she flew back, and then I drove back by myself because she had to work. But the other times, yeah. Oh, and then we did one to Edmonton as well that she came. But Edmonton not as fun as LA.
I don't know. They kind of call it the LA of
Of
of that
Canada?
of the Rockies, don't they?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's definitely the title. But beautiful drive, Jasper, all that stuff. Highly
Yeah.
highly recommend that.
Yeah.
So yeah, we made like as light of it as we could, but it was
Yeah,
a good
cool, man.
it's a good time. Have you ever had any delivery incidences like that?
Nothing that wasn't like, it got broke in the mail. I've definitely
Yeah.
had several of those. Or people doing chargebacks.
Mm.
I mean, that's a whole conversation of itself, but like chargebacks suck.
Yeah.
And it was someone who said they didn't receive their package, which anyway, it ruled in my favor. I mean, you have to sign for your packages for the stuff I'm shipping. We've got all the fail safes. Word to the wise out there. I mean, if you're expecting a package, you have to put down an address where you can get that package and get that package safely. Because the onus is on you. Once I give it to UPS, it's in UPS's hands to bring it to you and then for it to land at a safe location with you.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, and I've done a lot of replacements in the past, but when they're highly suspicious, I have fought and won those in the past. Honestly, thank God. Like, to the credit of the chargeback system, they immediately take the money out of your bank account when someone issues a chargeback. Anyway, we can talk about this at a later time, but when we've got more time to chat, because it is a significant subject for people selling retail products. There's still significant risk involved.
Come back to episode 4 where we go through chargebacks.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, we'll chat more on that.
And shipping concerns. Yeah.
But to your end, delivery, no. Like, I've had some installation woes marginally here and there, like installing millwork for sure. But thankfully, I've never had to deliver anything outside of the Lower Mainland.
That's actually a good question. Have you find the sales process for millwork versus standalone furniture different? in any ways? Like, are the conversations different, or have you kind of primarily sold like both at the same time?
Is it different? Typically, no. I mean, millwork and cabinet work, so the boxes, that stuff is way more popular than solid furniture. Like someone wanting a custom bench. Most of the woodworking that I'm experienced with that is solid wood is tables. There's a lot of tables going out. The occasional bench, again, coffee table. It's a lot of tables. And so there's not really a heck of a lot of design work involved in that. And usually people have an idea of what they already want. Sorry, what was the question again? I actually lost my train of thought there.
So between millwork and standalone furniture, have you noticed that there's like a different sales process, or is it a
Oh,
different conversation between the two?
I think it's the same. Honestly, it's
Yeah.
it's way easier to sell a table than it is cabinets. And not that it's way easier from the standpoint of like cost, because tables are freaking expensive. And honestly, cabinets can be too, depending on how complex they are. But cabinets, usually if they're coming to me to build something custom, they're usually more involved. They've got some kind of a special thing to them, whether it be like reading on the doors and then it fits within this small envelope and it has a special hidden this, or some kind of custom functionality, or you have LED lighting getting installed into it. There's, even just adding hardware, right? Because a lot of like I said, when it's a lot of tables and benches, there's not a ton of, hinges or things opening and moving. They're usually just one static piece. So there's definitely a lot more design work that goes into that sales process with the client, and you're usually satisfying more complex needs for utility, than I'm just eating at it or I'm just sitting on it. It needs to fit these things and work here and there or whatever and make accommodations for my space.
Right. What about the margins? You find the margins are higher on solid wood standalone furniture or in millwork? Millworks are obviously probably larger projects by and large.
The margins, that's honestly a good question because I basically bill out my time the same no matter what. But, I'd say because the process of making solid furniture for the stuff that I've done anyway, obviously can't speak for you or for other people. I find that stuff comes together pretty quickly for me. Like I find because the cabinetry things, the reason they're coming to me is for something special. And again, it has a utility like lighting or whatever have you, just come up with your head what that may be. The furniture is made a lot faster, I find, the solid wood stuff, and there's a lot less effort that goes into thought behind it because it is a more simple object. As long as you understand how solid wood works, you understand how to mill it, you understand how to color it, grade it, what your selections are. As long as you have all that all that necessary knowledge behind you, I find that stuff comes together quite quickly because we're talking about simple things there. Now, that doesn't, if it was even a wardrobe or a credenza of fully solid wood, that's automatically more complicated because there's more to take into account when you're making solid wood furniture, when you're, joining panels together and things like that. But to be honest, I just don't get a ton of that work. I get some of it, but I don't get a ton. I think the last largest entirely solid wood piece I made was a bed. And that was, it took, you know, it took more engineering because there's more coming together, and obviously beds in and of themselves have to have knockdown furniture, to fit into the space. And it being solid wood meant there was a couple areas I had to worry about expansion, contraction, and movement. But I don't know, not a ton really.
Have you ever used the Festool knockdowns?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, I do. Yeah, just the ones though for the DF 500, the small ones.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have a DF 700. That's the only bed I've ever sold. And honestly, I don't know. I just don't sell enough that I would ever need something that's big like that. Have you ever felt like the need? I know you guys, you have one, but how often do you use the DF versus the D?
We used it recently for not for knockdown, but just for the larger dominoes for that island, that big 12-foot island that we did.
What number were you using? What number domino? Do you remember?
Must be like the biggest one. Like it's the one that comes with like the largest size of the knockdowns.
Okay,
Like
so they're
actually
huge.
comes in the kit.
Oh, okay, okay.
Because if you do like knockdowns, like they don't all need to be the metal ones. Like it's just like one wood one, two metal ones, right? And then you just
Yeah,
like
sorry,
line
that's
them
what I
up.
mean though. Is the cutter like the number 12 then? I think the
Oh,
largest one I can do on mine is 10 millimeter. Is that
yeah,
what it is?
I'm
10
not too
millimeter?
sure. I'm not too sure. 12 sounds about right though.
Okay.
But it just like I sometimes use it too, just because it like cuts like butter. Like I think our smaller one is a bit dull.
Yeah.
But it's like, yeah, you just use that one, and it's just like the form factor is a little more difficult to use on small things, but it's just I find it just cuts a lot better.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure obviously it must have a larger motor in it, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I
Because
think
that's pounding away a lot.
the bits are newer, they're sharper.
Right. Oh yeah, the ones you have access that you have on hand there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's great.
Yeah, that's a good point. Actually, I should replace probably a couple of my like the cutters that I use the most are 10 and 8.
Yep.
8 on most things, and then 10. I don't know. Sometimes, just for bigger stuff, heavier stuff, just like you're saying, when I want something that's a bit heavier, or something's going to be cantilevered over, and I just want a little bit more meat in the mortise.
Yep.
Kind of,
That's a whole nother topic we can get into in future episodes, is structural security on pieces that we build.
yeah, and just like the joinery tools that we choose to use.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, which is honestly just for me, it's basically 2 tools, but yeah.
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 All right. I think that is it for our week 3 Built by Hand podcast.
Yeah. Yeah. So where can people find you?
So you can find me at humble_object on Instagram. Our website is www.humbleobject.com.
And you can find me on Instagram. It's at oddoneoutdesign, and online, my website, oddoneoutdesign.com.
Awesome. Another one in the books.
All right, brother. Take care.
See ya.